What's up, you guys? My name's Nurse Georgie. I'm a nutritionist and a nurse. I'm also a local in the Jackson Hole community. I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 10 years, and today I'm so excited to talk to you about the benefits of cold plunge therapy here at Astoria Hot Springs in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Right next to me is pro skier Caite Zeliff. Caite, hey Caite.
Hi, Georgie.
Caite is a Teton Gravity research athlete, and she's a two-time winner of the Kings and Queens of Corbett. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Astoria Hot Springs Conservancy, and then Caite's going to take you guys on a grand tour and talk to you a little bit about how she personally uses this modality in her recovery practice. So, Astoria Hot Springs Conservancy was founded just a few years ago, but the springs opened in 2020. The springs lay on a park that's over 95 acres. And the park is really cool because it's not just this area that's full of geothermal activity. It's actually the entire 95 acres that has geothermal pools underneath the ground surface. What this does for the park is it gives the wildlife a place to go in the winter months when it's getting really cold. So oftentimes what we see this as the animals' last stop as they head south for the winter in migration, and their first stop as they come up in the summer to migrate north, which I think is pretty cool. Astoria Hot Springs is completely and 100% donor funded, which means that it's up to us to give donations so that we can keep this project alive and going and give people of Jackson Hole a place to hot soak and recreate. One of the things that I've thought is really cool about Astoria Hot Springs and Conservancy is that they're putting in mountain biking and hiking trails for us to recreate on in the summer months. So that project is going to start soon. So I am going to go ahead and pass this off to Caite. Caite is going to give you guys a tour and give you some info on healing benefits of the hot springs.
Come with me. So this is my first time at the facility, and it actually blew my mind. There's a bunch of different pools of different varieties, of different temperatures, of different sizes. This pool that we're looking at right now is the biggest pool, the leisure pool that has plenty of space for groups and friends and family to hang out in. And I'm going to walk you around the premises and show you the different pools. I personally use cold plunging and hot tubbing for recovery and help with anti-inflammatory things during winter months when I'm absolutely hammering my quads day in and day out, as well as a practice in kind of, taking the mind and overcoming that fear that the body has to really cold water. I've really enjoyed the process of learning how to cold plunge safely, and I think having a easy accessible spot to do that would be huge in the valley. So just to my left is the kids pool. It's a little bit less hot and a little bit more shallow to have the kiddos safe and sound. And I hear that the Wi-Fi gets a little spotty as I walk along, but behind me we have a couple more pools in the river, which is lovely. The other pools are the river pool, which is the hottest of all the pools. I hear it's really hot. I'm excited to go try it, as well as the waterfall pool. It's a little bit quieter, more reflective. There's plants and rocks, and it sets a really nice scene. But like I said, this whole compound is amazing. I've been blown away by checking it out since I've been here, and definitely come down and take a peek. As far as cold plunging goes, it's definitely something that I think people are a little bit afraid of, but once you get in and you really take the time to quiet your breath and to sit, you'll be amazed what happens with the mind and body. All right, I'm going to bring you back over to Nurse Georgie, and she's going to run you through some of those health benefits I was telling you about.
Thank you so much, Caite. That was amazing. One of the things that people always think about when they think about cold plunge immersion therapy is reduction of inflammation, right? So we're out all day when we're in Jackson, right? Like we hit it hard, we ski, we snowboard, we rock climb, we mountain bike, and we're producing a lot of lactic acid. And when we produce a lot of lactic acid, we produce a lot of inflammation. And when we produce a lot of inflammation, our body has these little things called cytokines. And cytokines go through our system, and they basically help us reduce inflammation. Now, one thing that cryotherapy has been scientifically proven to do is people who participate in this modality regularly have a 200% reduction in cytokines, right? So this inflammatory process, the inflammatory process that our body undergoes, like when we're really hitting it hard, is 200% reduced when we're actively and regularly getting into a cold therapy modality, which is pretty cool. Another thing that's really interesting about cold plunge therapy is that it actually alters the way our brain synthesizes and utilizes neurotransmitters. So when we shock our body and when we shock our system, we end up producing a lot of endorphins, specifically serotonin, and then we also produce epinephrine and norepinephrine. And so those neurotransmitters basically help us increase our sense of well-being, increase our focus, and decrease depression. And so when you think about kind of like things that you can do to decrease depression and increase focus and decrease anxiety, you wouldn't normally first think cold plunge therapy, but it is definitely something that you can do to help with those types of, mental health things that you might want to support. The last thing that I want to talk about in terms of a health benefit before Caite and I go grab a drink and then jump into here living in Jackson Hole, one of the things that is really important during the winter months is that we're able to stay warm. And so when you're doing a cold plunge, your body automatically starts producing more brown fat. Brown fat is really interesting. So we have two different types of fat. We have brown fat and we have white fat. White fat is kind of think of it as your lazy fat. It's not really doing anything. People who are very sedentary have a high amount of white fat. People who are very physically active, like athletes, have a high amount of brown fat. And brown fat is what keeps us warm when our body gets cold. When you look at a brown fat cell underneath a microscope, you see all of these tiny, tiny, tiny little mitochondria. And mitochondria are what give your cells energy and produce energy for your cell. So brown cells are full of mitochondria, which produce energy and produce heat to keep you warm when you're outside and shivering. People who participate in cold plunge immersion therapy have much higher instance of brown fat tissue. And so an athlete like Caite, who's doing cold plunge therapy, is going to have a lot more brown fat cells. So when she's out skiing or performing in the backcountry, it's going to work to her advantage because she's been training doing cold plunge immersion therapy. We're going to go grab a drink up at the bar, and then we're going to get into the hot pool. But we both just wanted to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was amazing. This whole entire thing is to raise money for Astoria Hot Springs, right? So if we can get 15 people today to donate just $50, we have a special donor who's going to match that $1,500 donation. And that's not all. Anyone who donates $100 or more is going to get a really friggin' cool polar
Come on. Look how cute it is.
So freaking cute. I have one too. Hold this for a second. I'll throw it on. Yes. So we're amped up. I can't wait for Astoria to get this polar plunge pool. It's going to be amazing. And I know I'm going to come every day and do it. I already donated my $100 to get my hat, and so did Caite. So go online right now, donate $50 to $100. We'll match your donation and you'll get a beanie.
And you get all the health benefits of cold plunging when the pool's here. So come on.
All right, guys, have a great afternoon and we will see you later.